And then from ancient Greece, satire reached ancient China. So, what was the concept of satire in ancient China? In ancient China, satire was called feng shui. Feng shui. And it goes back at least to the era of the renowned philosopher of ancient China, Confucius. And it is also being mentioned in the book of outs. It meant to criticize by means of an out. So, satire in ancient China was basically an out, and they were criticizing by means of that poem. In the pre-Qin era, it was also common for schools of thought to clarify their views through the use of short explanatory anecdotes called yuan, translated as entrusted words. These yuan usually were brimming with satirical content. And then there came Roman world. And the first Roman to discuss satire critically was Quintilian. You must focus on the structure to discuss satire critically, to discuss and not to write. So, Quintilian, who invented the term to describe the writings of the Gaius Lucilius. So basically he was discussing and describing satire critically, and he invented the term to describe the writings of one of the important satirists of the ancient Roman, that is Gaius Lucilius. The two most important and influential ancient Roman satirists are Horace and Juvenal. So you must remember these two names, that the two most prominent and influential ancient Roman satirists, Horace and Juvenal, who wrote during the early days of the Roman Empire. And the other most important satirist, an ancient Latiner, Gaius Lucilius, which we discussed, and Perseus. So satire in their works is much wider than in the modern sense of the word, including fantastic and highly colored humorous writings with little or no real mocking intent. So it was a gentle kind of satire. When Horace criticized Augustus, he used veiled ironic terms, and it was not a harsh kind of satire. However, in contrast, Pliny reports that the 6th century BC poet Hypocrisy wrote satire that were so cruel that the offended hanged themselves. Oh my God! So satire in the hands of Horace was so gentle, and in the hands of Hypocrisy, it turned so cruel. And then there came the Arabic and Persian satire in the medieval Islamic world. Medieval Arabic poetry included the satiric genre hijra. It was known by the name hijra. Satire was introduced into Arabic prose literature by the author Al-Jahiz in the 9th century. While dealing with serious topics in what are now known as anthropology, sociology, and psychology, he introduced a satirical approach. And why a satirical approach in serious topics? So based on the premise that however serious the subject under review, it could be made more interesting and thus achieve greater effect by the insertion of a few amusing anecdotes or by throwing out of some witty and paradoxical observations. So in the Arabic literature, a form of political satire is Farazdak-like. And what's the story behind this? That the 10th century poet Jarir satirizing Farazdak as a transgressor of the Sharia, and later Arabic poets in turn using the term Farazdak-like as a form of political satire. So it is a form of a political satire in Arabic literature, Farazdak-like. You must remember it, that the terms comedy and satire became synonymous after the Aristotle's Poetics was translated into Arabic in the medieval Islamic world, where it was elaborated upon by Islamic philosophers and writers such as Abu Bashir and his students Al-Farabi and Avicenna. Due to cultural differences that disassociated comedy from Greek dramatic representation and instead identified it with Arabic poetic themes and forms such as hijab, satirical poetry. And the most important point is that Abu Bashir is famous for founding the Baghdad school of Aristotelian. On the other hand, in the Persian literature, Ubayd Zakani introduced satire during the 14th century. His work is noted for its satire and obscene verses, often political and often cited in debates involving homosexual practices. He wrote the Risale Dil-Gosha as well as Akhlaq al-Ashraf, Ethics of the Aristocracy, and the famous humorous fable Masnavi Mushogobe, Mouse and Cat, which was a political satire. However, his non-satirical serious classical verses have also been regarded as very well written, in league with the other great works of the Persian literature, philosophers. Between 1905 and 1911, Bibi Khatun and other Iranian writers wrote notable satires. In the upcoming video, we will be talking about satire in the medieval Europe and will proceed towards the age of enlightenment and restoration age.